Speaking of movies, we have first up is The American, big George Clooney film.
The American. The American is, obviously George Clooney has never been hotter. He's in the peak of his career. George Clooney stars in and produces this film, directed by Anton Corbijn. Anton Corbijn is a Dutch director who made his feature directing debut a few years ago with a film called Control, which was the story of the band Joy Division and got a lot of critical acclaim at the time, and Corbin's a pretty slick stylist. What's interesting about this film is that if you've seen the commercials or the trailer, you might be thinking that it's the Clooney ultimatum. They make it look like some kind of variation on the Bourne films, and it's got guns and suspense and intrigue. It's not that kind of movie. It's a very good film, but it's not the movie they're marketing. And it probably makes a little bit of sense. Let's take a look.
Move!
I was looking for you.
I'm here.
What are you doing tonight?
I work tonight.
Don't. If I asked you to come away with me, would you?
Come away with you?
Why not?
Together.
Together.
Forever.
Forever.
Io ti amo. Ti amo.
All right.
Yeah!
They're not applauding you, they're applauding.
As long as you don't applaud while we're talking, that's the most important thing.
The malfunctioning applause sign. Okay. That scene that you just saw, that's about as much action and dialogue as this movie has. I'm not kidding. What's interesting about this film is that it's a very, very introspective film. There aren't a lot of answers, there are a lot of questions. George Clooney plays a professional assassin, a professional killer of some kind, and you don't really understand who he is, what his background is. All you know is that there are some Swedes who are chasing him. They're trying to track him down, so one of his frequent employers sends him to hide out in a small Italian village, where he has a new job, not to kill someone, but rather to manufacture the weapon that someone else will use to commit a murder. And so basically George Clooney spends the better part of this film building a rifle and kind of thinking about his life. And of course there's a romance with the woman that you saw, which I won't give many details on. It's an interesting kind of a romance. Ultimately, this film, if you've ever seen a Michelangelo Antonioni film, that's what this is. If you've ever seen Antonioni's The Passenger with Jack Nicholson, that's really what this is. It is slow, methodical, beautifully photographed, very introspectively performed by Clooney. There are moments where his acting is as good as he's ever been, and he doesn't say a word. It's just George Clooney, his eyes, his face, just letting you know what's turning around in his head. It's a remarkable performance. It's a fascinating film, but it is not a fast-paced action thriller.
That's true. I liked it a lot. I think that it sort of fades a bit in memory, and I'll discuss that in a second.
Yeah.
Wade's right. The film is essentially a mood piece.
It is.
Is what it is. It's basically a mood piece. It's a very existential sort of crime thriller. And so when Clooney goes to this Italian town, he interacts with two people. A priest, who tries to turn him to God a little bit, and he meets the woman you saw in the clip, who was a prostitute. So really you have the classic dilemma.
Yeah.
God versus man, God, flesh sort of dilemma that this guy has, and he does have to choose. So that's where you get that existentialism in there. And I think that for the first half of the film, which is a lot of tension, a lot of slow building scenes, a lot of beautiful shots, a lot of unfolding, I liked all of it because a lot of that is the type of sustained tension you don't get in American films a lot.
You don't.
I think that where I lost interest a little bit is once you learn a little bit about him and once he starts making decisions, oddly enough, he gets less interesting to me.
It never got less interesting to me. It had to go somewhere. You can't just have, a 2-hour movie about a guy who's indecisive. The indecision gets boring after a while. As the line goes in Gigi, indecision is a bore. Thank you. A little reference. No one got that. Okay.
Nobody applaud.
Never mind.
I think you said Gilly too.
Not Gili, Gigi.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Nobody quotes Gili, believe me.
Okay.
Yeah, who's quoting Gilly?
Gigi, 9 Academy
Okay,
Awards,
gotcha,
1958. What's wrong with you people? Okay, so what I understand though is that a lot of people are going to go to this expecting George Clooney, guns, exotic setting, some kind of James Bond thing, some kind of Jason Bourne thing. A lot of action. They're going to be eating their popcorn, waiting for the cork to pop on the car chase or the shootout, and it never does. That doesn't happen in this movie. This is the kind of movie actors love to make, but which only certain audiences love to see actors do. And I think their marketing kind of betrays the fact that they're really, really uncertain as to how to push this film and to whom and how it'll be received. I think it's important that the people who know that this is their kind of film be the ones who go to it, as opposed to something like Kick-Ass, where Kick-Ass had a marketing problem, and kids didn't go because it was rated R and it was violent and insanely intense, and adults didn't go because they thought it was a kids' film.
But I think that the marketing here speaks to the first weekend mentality. Because here's the thing, if you fool enough people to think that this is an action thriller, everyone's going to go see it in the first weekend. And then they'll feel like it was a bait and switch, and they'll tell all their friends that it's not what I thought it was. But by then it's too late, because we don't live in that studio era when films can sort of unfold and word of mouth spreads.
Sure,
it's all a first weekend mentality now.
Sure,
and that, I think the marketing is geared towards that first weekend mentality.
Slumdog Millionaire, Juno, and Little Miss Sunshine, 3 Fox Searchlight hits over the last several years, all made, between them, hundreds of millions of dollars without actually making any kind of a dent on their first weekend. Fox Searchlight has proven a good movie, well marketed, honestly marketed, platformed across a period of time, can win the beloved following of audiences.
But
the fact that other studios want that first weekend, that they're ignoring it, to me doesn't say that the first weekend mentality prevails. It says they don't have faith in their movies.
But I think that those films are different from the American. Those films are sort of these, light kind of comedies in a sense that you can say, go discover this film with your brother, your mother, your boyfriend, whatever it is. Whereas this is like a thriller. And it doesn't really, it's not going to have that America's beloved new movie sort of
But I think
buzz.
marketed to the right audience over time, it would do better than if they're just trying to blow it out there with a really deceptive ad campaign first weekend. Because it'll, over time, this movie could do very, very well for 2 or 3 months.
They marketed Slumdog Millionaire as a musical. Every commercial was that last scene.
But everyone loved it. Everyone loved it. But
it was the same.
it wasn't quite the bait and switch. This is a real bait and switch. This is like a Kick-Ass bait and switch.
I agree. I agree. But it's a good film. So
it's a good film. I just hope I hope that people who want to see this kind of a film don't write it off going, it's another one of those films with, guns and chases and so forth. No, this is a very, very compelling film.